Hi there, it's Sarah with rufflesandrainboots.com. I'm going to show you how to use the M1 Ultra, which is a laser and blade cutting machine, to create the funniest little Thanksgiving wine tags from basswood. So I've already created the file for you, but you can create your own. I'm going to open up XCS, the free software for design and functioning of the Xtool M1 Ultra. I'm going to drag in my SVG, and as you can see, it looks a little funny, but don't worry. In the layers panel, or you can just click on one of the colors. I'm clicked on black right now. I want to make sure it's set to engrave, and then I need to enter my settings. So I am using this prior to launch, but I'm going to open up the Easy Set material library, type in basswood, click on it, and make sure I choose M1 10 watt. That's my lasers module wattage, and then engrave. And it gives me the settings right there. So all I have to do is just, again, click on the black layer and it will load all of my settings at once when I type it into the Easy Set panel. So I'm going to type in 35 100. I'm going to change the LPC from 100 to 120. And then you'll see I adjust that later. I'm going to choose olive red, set that to cut, and then I'm going to enter my settings for that, which are 106 with one pass, which I will change later because I make an adjustment to my material. All right, so now speaking of our material, we need to go ahead and load that into our unit. You can use the slats, but I'm on the honeycomb. We need to measure our distance after we get our material inside. So you can see I have masking on my basswood. I have it pinned down to my honeycomb because it's warped. And then I'm going to move this laser module's crosshair right over my material and then close the lid because it's required to close the lid when processing, measuring, or marking, after marking, I should say, framing. All right, so when I hit distance in the software, the entire laser module will come down and auto measure for me. There's no rulers, there's no guessing. This just does it. What happens, it will enter either millimeters or inches. If you are in millimeters and want to change, go to the settings for the software at the top left and just change to inches. And there you are. Now, I have grouped all this together, but in case you want to ungroup because you want to make 7 of one and none of the other, you can ungroup it. You can move it as a group. You can move it individually. Just be mindful if you do ungroup it that you need to make sure it's all lined up. Our next stage is marking, and this is just telling the laser what to do or where to process. So I'm going to choose a rectangle. Now, this is the screen that comes up. If you position your crosshair at the very top left and hit the white button, that produces that first little red dot. We're going to do that right now. I'm going to make sure my honeycomb pin magnet are not in the way. And now that that's there, I'm just going to, I'm going to hit the camera. Then I'm going to hit the white button on the front of the machine. Once that locks it in, I'm going to go to all the way to the other portion, making sure my honeycomb pins are not in the way. And again, hitting that white button. When I do that, you'll see there's a big rectangle. We hit end marking and done. And now we can just position these inside of that area and the laser will know where to process it. I'm going to go ahead and save this file. I urge you to save your files manually because it does not auto-save inside of XCS. So once you have it saved, you can just validate your settings. I'm just clicking on the layers and seeing my settings in there. Now it's time to frame it. Framing is a zero power that will just mark out where the processing will occur. So you can see mine is going to take up a majority of the width, but not so much of the height. And now we are ready to have our laser actually process our materials. So I'm actually only going to do one of these because I have to go somewhere. So I'm just going to do this one here. So I turn everything's output to off, and then just this one will be on. Remember, you have to get the engraving and the cutting. When you choose that and you choose the start, it will send the file to the machine, and then you can hit start on the machine and turn on your purifier if you're using it, and then your machine will process. So I had a question, which is why I'm sharing this particular video about, oh my goodness, what happens if I made a mistake? Don't worry, you are the controller of this little mini universe here. I didn't like the engraving the way it was, so I hit pause and cancel. It'll give you a little warning. You're like, no, bro, keep going. So I'm going to go back to those layers I told you about. You can go in the bottom left-hand corner, you can just click on that and you can choose whichever layer. So I'm going to choose black. I'm going to change all of my settings for engraving to 55 power because again, I have masking on. And when we're working with a 10-watt laser, it really does matter. So I'm going to go ahead and start processing again, right over exactly where we were. We haven't moved the material. We haven't changed the distance. We just start processing again. So you'll see, I'm going to speed this up, but you can see it looks pretty light. Don't fret. I promise you're fine. Okay, so now after it stops with the last piece of engraving, it immediately starts cutting. Again, you are literally doing no extra work here. The machine is doing it all for you. I let the fan run for a few seconds to remove any of that smoke or detritus. Now, do not move the material and just try and pick it up. So you'll see here, mine doesn't pick up. I have a little like hangers on somewhere. So I'm going to go to the Easy Set panel, choose all of red, and make 2 passes. Again, I haven't moved it. Once that is done again, because I just reprocessed the cut, just the cut, not the engraving. Look at this. Let's see what it looks like under here. Straight out of the machine. That's pretty nice. That's pretty nice. Now I do wipe out the edges. I'll show you in a second, just because I ran 2 passes. So when I got back from Taekwondo, I just processed the rest of them. Again, following the exact same steps. Everything is already set. All I had to do was just press start, right? Turn the output for this one on, the other one's off. And you can see I just wiped the outside edge, remove the masking. Look at that. There's a little bit of that A masking in there, so I'm going to get that. You just pick that right off. You can also use tape. Look at that. Straight out of the machine. That looks good. So anyway, I just processed the other 2, and then I do have a hint. Again, you can save this throughout periodically or whatever, but I do have a hint. Right when you remove everything, you want to take it outside and go ahead and spray it with a sealant. We want to make sure we lock it in and we don't bring any, smudges to our projects. So you can decorate these any way you want. I just put them on a fairly short bit of twine because they're very rustic to me when it's done in wood. And so I'm just prepping for a couple of Thanksgiving gifties here. I'm going to use a little bit of this, like what, gray buffalo check ribbon. It's super, easy to do. We're just locking it in under our twine so we don't even have to like do anything, right? Just dovetail the edges, pull your twine tight, put a little bit of masking tape on the ends, and just thread some beads through. I was asked where I get all my stuff. Y'all, Amazon and the craft store. I like Woodpecker Shop on Amazon. Oh, I meant to do those descending sizes. Apparently, need to go back to like 2nd grade. All right, so I just put these on and then I'm going to tie off the top and just cut off that bit of masking tape. This is a pretty fun and easy project if you are a beginner or if you're new to any laser. I have, again, used the M1 Ultra, but if you have the M1 Original or any diode laser, this will work. If you have a CO2 laser, you're going to have to drop all the settings. But look how cute these are with not a lot of work on our part, right? I'm going to go ahead and put the link to these 4 designs below, and I hope you check it out. I am super excited that you watched all the way to the end. I really appreciate it. And if you like easy crafts like this, be sure to follow Ruffles and Rain Boots here on the channel for more crafty fun.